Hello my soccer universe, let's be honest, it wasn't much of a Europa League evening. It left more of the hope that something could happen. It was always 2 goals difference, and then once both English teams scored, it was more or less over. And so we have a Europa League final in Bilbao between 2 of the most disappointing Premier League sides that just turned it on in the Europa League. And we'll talk about the final a little bit later. But it kind of tells you that this competition, A, the Premier League is just so dominant with all the money that they have. And B, that yes, in the Europa League, there are not the top teams from the top nations in there. The one thing that really bugs me though is that up until the semi-final stage, I was really excited about the Europa League. This was the best competition. And then such a letdown in the semis, and then probably even bigger letdown in this final. Yeah, as I said, it was not much of an evening yesterday. It left more of hope, but let's do our duty and recap the 2 matches. Bodø Glimt's miracle run ends in the semi-finals. They also lose for the first time at home and don't even score, which also hasn't happened so far, 2-0. And it was Spurs that were actually quite clever. I mean, the elements were again more in Bodø's favor. We also had the plastic pitch and so on. But what did Spurs do? Something that you don't see in the Premier League. They ceded the possession to Glimt. And Glimt had an early chance, but overall, Spurs said, yeah, let's see if you can break us down. And that's not what Glimt likes. Glimt likes to exploit open spaces behind defenses and so on. It was actually Spurs that probably had the better chances. The best one came through Pedro Porro free kick. Same thing early in the second half. I mean, again, Glimt coming out, trying to create chances. However, the one that they had, there was always a leg in between. And so it's then a tail corner that Romero heads over to Solanke, who quickly puts it into net. In the 63rd minute, the tie was done. Glimt were not coming back from a 4-1 deficit. And then Pedro Porro's erring cross finds itself into the net. And it's 2-0 Spurs. Later on, there was a penalty given for Glimt, but Porro played the ball ahead of that. And so Spurs find themselves in the final. But we also have to congratulate that Bodø Glimt, from such a small town in northern Norway, made it all the way to the semi-finals of the Europa League. That is a storyline that you don't see all that often. So bravo to Bodø Glimt. Any hope of Athletic Club advancing against United was more or less fool's hope. However, they gave it at least a try. But without the Williams brothers, it was never really gonna work, let's be honest. Berenguer had an early chance, then Harry Maguire coughs one up, a shot is taken, and the rebound on that one is nicely put in the net by Jare Gizar in the 31st minute. Really nice goal, I gotta say. And you always thought maybe, just maybe, if the rub of the green falls to Athletic Club, they could get back into the game. But also, as I said, Garnacho had a one-on-one with the goalie where he made the wrong decision by trying to lob the goalkeeper. Second half again, Athletic Club trying. I don't want to discount that. However, once Mason Mount, after a nice Euro assist and then he himself spinning and curling it into the net, gets the equalizer, the game was done. Everyone knew that, and Athletic Club then fell apart, conceding 3 more. Casemiro heads it in after Fernandes free kick. Then there was a nice run by Diallo on the right side, who then assists Højlund for the tap in. And in stoppage time, Mason Mount more or less kicks it into an empty net from far out. As expected, United are in the final, and Athletic Club, I think major questions have to be asked there. How this could happen, that they outclassed by United 7-1 on aggregate. So Spurs against United it is. And again, I'm not bugged that it is a final between 2 teams from the same country. I'm not even bugged it's a final between 2 Premier League teams. Would I have preferred a final played between 2 teams from different countries? Yes. Would I have preferred Athletic Club against Bodø Glimt? Yes, I probably would have. But my biggest gripe is not that it's a Premier League side meeting a Premier League, but it's these 2 Premier League sides. These 2 jokes of a team are meeting in a final. One of those will play in the Champions League next season. They don't deserve that. And look at United. They get in this final now on the back of winning the FA Cup because they would not have qualified for Europe last season. Now they are in the final, and if they win that one, they actually get through the back door into the Champions League. It's absolutely crazy. As for Spurs, it's also funny that they might actually win a trophy when their North London rivals finish second in the league and are ousted from the Champions League. Arguably a better season, however no trophy to show for. And Chelsea, the other city rival, will probably also come home with a trophy. So that's just a little icing on the cake. I heard Arsene Wenger says nobody from the Europa League should qualify for the Champions League if you win it. I'm of two minds. I mean, you want to make the Europa League a little bit more attractive and force the big teams to play all their names, and that's what these two teams have been doing. So credit to them. And also credit to them to making it that far. I mean, they all had the scares. They never looked perfect. However, in the end, they got it done. United actually have not lost a game. And that brings me now, who is the favorite in that one? I mean, it's really hard to tell. My model splits them down the right, the middle, giving the slightest of edges to United, but it's 50-50 as you can see there. I would say squad-wise and so on, Spurs is probably better. And again, I will do a full preview of that final just a few days before it happens. Spurs probably have the better squad. However, I think there's a certain je ne sais quoi about United. I mean, Bruno Fernandes can step it up at any time. I also feel that United are a cup team, way more than Spurs are. I mean, they've won the FA Cup, they've won the League Cup as of late. So I wouldn't be surprised if United actually win this one. And I would agree with my model that I would give a slight edge to United just because they have a little bit more big game experience than Spurs do. But would I be surprised if Spurs win it? No, I think Spurs are overall the better team, although the table is not showing that. Again, these two teams. In any case, please let me know what you thought about the semifinals first, and also please drop a line below. Who do you think will win the Europa League? And who will play the Champions League next season and be embarrassed there? Question mark, exclamation point. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. I'll talk to you soon about more things in my soccer universe. Bye! Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, here are some videos and playlists that you may enjoy too. Also, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the little bell icon so you get notified whenever something happens in my soccer universe. And with that, have a wonderful day. Bye!